we got to get into some real business. Some real business is taking place, okay? This is crazy. Congress is stepping in. Take a look at this right here. Here it says, I led my colleagues in demanding accountability from WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert after multiple attacks against Caitlin Clark, a player who is transforming women's sports and inspiring a new generation of young girls to participate in athletics. I'm putting the league on notice that if it keeps letting the violent targeting slide, they could find themselves facing a DOJ and EEOC crackdown for violating federal civil rights law. This is nuts, guys. This is insanity. And look at
the United States government has officially stepped into the WNBA, and the absolute circus surrounding the physical targeting of Caitlin Clark has just escalated into a massive, unprecedented federal crisis. For months, fans have been screaming from the rooftops that the relentless, highly toxic physical hostility directed at the league's biggest star was crossing a highly dangerous line. Now, lawmakers are actively threatening Commissioner Kathy Engelbert with a Department of Justice civil rights investigation. While the front office faces an absolute nightmare from Washington, D.C., the Indiana Fever coaching staff is currently executing one of the most baffling, frustrating roster management blunders in the history of the franchise, actively punishing the exact fans who are paying their bills. You are locked into WNBA Watch, the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups and controversies in professional basketball. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's dive directly into the absolute meltdown currently paralyzing the league's credibility.
The letter is right here. Congress of United States to Kathy Engelbert. Okay? And in this letter, they are detailing some of the things that Caitlin Clark has been subjected to. Here it says Clark has been hip checked, poked in the eye, struck in the throat during games. These incidents go far beyond routine physical play. Yet the WNBA and its officiating have too often failed to address these unacceptable incidents and hold players accountable. Recently, a player even appeared to endorse violence against Clark in a social media post, Tiffany Hayes, further fueling concerns about the culture surrounding these incidents. In addition, concerning reports suggest that many of these attacks against Caitlin Clark may be racially motivated. As commissioner,
to truly comprehend the terrifying magnitude of this institutional crisis, you have to look directly at the explosive, highly classified letter just sent to Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. A coalition of 12 lawmakers, led by Representative August Pfluger, dropped an absolute nuclear bomb on the WNBA front office. They are explicitly demanding total accountability for the repeated, highly visible attacks against Caitlin Clark. The letter does not mince a single word, officially putting the league on notice that if this unchecked, violent targeting continues, they will be staring down the barrel of a massive crackdown from the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The lawmakers are aggressively pointing out that allowing this targeted hostility to flourish creates a severely hostile work environment, which actively constitutes a violation of federal civil rights laws. The WNBA spent decades begging to be taken seriously, and now that they have a billion-dollar spotlight, the federal government is heavily scrutinizing their complete inability to maintain a safe, professional environment. But this federal ultimatum wasn't just built on rumors, it was built on a highly documented, terrifying catalog of on-court chaos. The congressional letter explicitly outlined the horrific treatment Clark has been forced to endure, citing the severe, highly publicized neck strike from Alyssa Thomas, blatant eye pokes, and aggressive hip checks that go far beyond routine basketball physicality. The lawmakers accurately diagnosed the underlying disease infecting the association. The league and its officiating crews have routinely and systematically failed to hold the veteran establishment accountable. The letter even referenced the deeply disturbing reality that opposing players are actively taking to social media to seemingly endorse this hostility. The absolute undeniable truth is that Caitlin Clark single-handedly transformed the entire financial landscape of women's sports, and the league is actively allowing her to be heavily targeted while completely looking the other way. While the commissioner's office desperately scrambles to handle the federal heat, the Indiana Fever organization has decided to execute an absolutely idiotic, highly frustrating maneuver that completely ruins the fan experience. Head coach Stephanie White recently stepped up to the microphone to announce the availability of Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston for their crucial back-to-back games against Los Angeles and Phoenix, and the strategy is completely baffling. White explicitly revealed that Clark will play the first game while Boston sits, and then they will completely flip-flop for the second game, with Boston playing and Clark being forcefully benched. Let that completely sink into your brain for a second. We are talking about two hyper-competitive athletes in their early 20s who are entirely healthy enough to play professional basketball, and the coaching staff is actively choosing to stagger their rest days. Fans are paying astronomical, highly inflated ticket prices specifically to watch this dynamic duo operate on the hardwood together. By intentionally holding them out on alternating nights, the Fever front office is turning their schedule into an absolute mockery, completely prioritizing extreme, bureaucratic load management over actual basketball execution.
Safe and professional environment both on and off the floor, free from violence, discrimination, or retaliation. If discrimination or retaliation is occurring and creating a hostile work environment, we support any appropriate investigation by the Department of Justice, the Department of Labor, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission if true such conduct could constitute violations of federal civil rights laws. Federal civil rights laws. This is crazy. It's imperative that the WNBA take meaningful action to address this issue. The league has an extraordinary opportunity to inspire the next generation of female athletes to pursue athletics, but that opportunity is undermined when its brightest stars are not adequately protected. Your fans deserve better, and so do the young girls who look to the WNBA as a...
However, even amidst the absolute catastrophic failure of the league's officiating and the frustrating incompetence of the Indiana coaching staff, Clark's sheer commercial dominance continues to completely eclipse the noise. Sneakerheads and basketball fans were just treated to a massive, highly anticipated first look at the brand new yellow colorway of the Nike Caitlin ones. The shoes are absolutely fire, featuring a sleek, vibrant design that completely pops on the hardwood. While the veterans are busy harboring deep-seated jealousy and the front office is busy dealing with congressional letters, Clark is out here quietly warming up in signature shoes that will inevitably sell out globally in absolute record time. It is a beautiful, highly visual reminder that regardless of the toxic politics attempting to drag her down, her brand is an unstoppable, completely undeniable global juggernaut. And that deep-seated, toxic locker room jealousy was just completely dismantled and exposed by one of the absolute greatest players to ever touch a basketball. WNBA legend and Hall of Famer Candace Parker recently took to her podcast and went absolutely scorched earth on the current player base regarding the highly controversial All-Star voting results. When the confidential ballots were leaked, revealing that the players insanely ranked Caitlin Clark as the 11th best guard and Kelsey Plum as the 12th, Parker completely stopped pulling her punches. She looked directly into the camera and delivered a brutal, unapologetic reality check. Parker explicitly stated that the players casting these ballots possess massive, glaring insecurities. She didn't hold back, aggressively declaring that these veterans need to look themselves in the mirror and literally go see a therapist to figure out their unresolved childhood issues. When an icon of the sport is publicly telling the active roster that their voting metrics are driven by pure, unadulterated psychological envy rather than actual basketball evaluation, the entire illusion of a unified sisterhood completely shatters. We are currently watching an entire sporting institution actively collapse under the crushing weight of its own petty, deeply ingrained resentment. The establishment is caught in a terrifying, inescapable vice grip. On one side, the United States Congress is actively threatening federal investigations over their complete failure to protect their ultimate golden goose. On the other side, highly respected legends like Candace Parker are completely exposing the bitter, incredibly jealous mentality rotting the locker rooms from the inside out. And sitting right in the middle is the Indiana Fever coaching staff, desperately trying to micromanage minutes instead of simply letting their generational superstar hoop. It is officially time for a massive, sweeping organizational overhaul. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe the WNBA commissioner needs to be heavily investigated by the federal government, and was Candace Parker completely right about the players needing therapy? Drop your absolute best takes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay permanently locked into the absolute truth, and I will see you all in the very next deep dive.